me Sam Stevenson, the Assistant Editor Political of the Daily Express, United Kingdom. Sam, welcome to Strat News Global. Thank you so much for speaking to Global Couples.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honour to be here.
Great. Sam, this is your first time in India.
It is my first time in India, yes.
And what an experience you're having. But before we get into the experience of the election coverage, what was your idea of India before you came?
I think that's a really good question because unfortunately there are some preconceived misconceptions about India, perhaps in Europe at large and especially in the UK. Things like, for example, things like the political situation here as well, access to free and fair democracy. We're hearing narratives that are developing in the West, such as Modi's an authoritarian, India's becoming a theocratic state. We're hearing this sort of narrative that's prevailing, and it is starting to cut through in the UK. And clearly, these are the sorts of things that I've come here and seen, and they're not quite the reality on the ground, I would say.
Okay. So, when you came here, you knew the numbers that are going to vote. You know the amount, the number of people we have in our country. So, was there any apprehension about how will you deal with the crowds? How will you deal with the people? What was the kind of research you did before landing up?
Well, I think there was certainly a sort of apprehension in terms of the pure scale of the place and the absolute vastness of it. I mean, we arrived in Delhi, and within about 2 hours we were already on another plane to the first location, which was Varanasi, to witness a rally roadshow with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and all his supporters. But yes, in terms of the actual scale of the place, I just couldn't quite comprehend how we were going to challenge that.
Absolutely. Now, you started by saying that there were certain conceptions or misconceptions that you had about India. In fact, we have India, which was downgraded to the status of an electoral autocracy, as you would have heard, especially by this think tank, V-Dem Institute, right? So there are these allegations of declining democracy, which you felt are not true, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yes.
Okay, go on.
Well, I mean, I can give you a tangible example of that, actually. We were on the campaign trail with Ambassador Sandhu in Amritsar, in Punjab, and we were witnessing him undertake a rally in rural Punjab with farmers, with local agricultural workers, and actually at the side of the rally there were some communist detractors, and they were shouting incredibly loud over a PA system. They had a microphone, they were allowed to be there, there was no crackdown on their presence, they were shouting their chants loud and clear, and to me that's the sign of an open and thriving democracy, because we're able to see people sharing their views in this way, and actually the ambassador himself was directly responding to them. So the debate is here. There's a thriving, vibrant, open debate in this country, and I do think that the notion that it's sort of any kind of danger to democracy here, it's not been something that I've personally witnessed myself.
Okay, moving gears a little bit, Narendra Modi, the incumbent Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his election rallies, he has been known to speak about the minorities. And at the same time, in his interviews to certain journalists, he denies doing that. He denies saying anything against Muslims. Have you noticed that? Are you aware of these news articles that are around in India, and what is your reaction? What are your thoughts to that?
Well, look, I think it's quite simple. Narendra Modi is playing to the gallery. We're in a nation with 80% Hindu population, okay? He's a politician at the end of the day, so what would you expect him to do? Okay, he's trying to appeal to the mass voter, and if that involves policies that restore cultural heritage to the nation, that's going to work. That's going to win in votes, and it's actually working, I think we can see on the ground. But also, in terms of the minority issue, I do believe that tends to be focused on a little bit too much, especially in Western narratives, when in reality, if you went to, for example, Northern Ireland in our country, there is some terrible religious sectarian violence going on in Northern Ireland itself. So it's difficult to point the finger at India specifically when you can see examples of this going on across the world.
Right. I understand. But then, we are talking about the world's largest democracy. Mm-hmm. So, when you were in Varanasi, and I've seen the video that you put out, and where you talked of how everyone is, saying good things about the incumbent Prime Minister and all the things that have happened there. So, are you trying to tell me that you actually never heard dissenting voices? Because that would worry me as something that this is not good for democracy.
Okay, well we've heard from some dissenting voices. We've heard from people here in Delhi, in Khan Market, who have told us that they do not want to vote for Narendra Modi. When we were on the ground in Varanasi, there was an overwhelming sense that people were supporting Modi, and whether or not that's because, again, he's a clever politician. He's using Varanasi as a way, because he knows that this is a sort of almost a homeland of India. It's northern India. There's a very patriotic group of people there. So he's using that Uttar Pradesh transformation as a springboard to launch his campaign. But no, in certain areas, for example, as I say, the more liberal areas here in Delhi, we have heard some dissenting voices who have told us that they think Modi is a thief. They think he's a crook. And they've told us these are their opinions. And so we have heard from people of all opinions.
So what I understand is you are trying to find that balance. You are trying to put out a balanced narrative. However, the main crux of the matter is that democracy is not in danger in India. Am I right?
I think so, yes. I mean, look, people are here, they are celebrating democracy, it's a festival, it's a carnival atmosphere, people are in the streets. And this is because people value democracy here and they do not take it for granted. We could only hope for that sort of enthusiasm in the UK. We struggle to get people to even vote, let alone turn out to celebrate democracy in this way. So, no, I think,
this heat.
Yeah, exactly. In this absolutely sweltering 40-degree heat. I mean, come on, it's not exactly the easiest thing to be doing, is it?
It's a 7-phase election.
Yeah.
Would you say that it's too long?
How do you get a nation of 1.4 billion people? I mean, we're talking, it's basically the billion ballot election, because not obviously all the 1.4 are going to be voting. How do you make something like that happen? And actually, I think it's testament to the free enterprising spirit of the Indians that they're actually able to make this happen. And it's that spirit of can-do attitude. It's a little bit like the Jugaad that we mentioned before. And that's the kind of spirit that I've been feeling here. Like, we're going to make this happen. And in terms of how long it is, well, yes, it is long. But how else are we going to do this? How else are we going to make this happen effectively?
So what are you going to carry back to London?
That's a great question. I think there's lots and lots that we need to try and learn from India and some of the good things that are happening here. And I think that, well, for example, UPI, here's a good one. This payment system that people in the UK aren't even aware of it, don't even know it exists, this technology, okay? I didn't, for a start. Let's bring this home with us. Let's speak about some of these positive technological advances that are happening in India. For example, France have now adopted it, so you can pay for the Eiffel Tower using it. But that's one example. Infrastructure, rolling out infrastructure. It's frankly embarrassing that in the UK we can't even build a railway line. HS2 was this railway line that they've now shelved, and it was only going to be a high-speed railway to London. Look, it's infrastructure, it's things like technological advances, it's things like welfare reform as well. There have been 25 million homes built in India since 2016. We'd be lucky if we could build even a fraction of those in England. And we really need that. So it's about taking home that spirit of enterprise. That's the key message that I'm getting here.
Great. Thank you very much, Sam, for taking out the time to speak to us. And I wish you all the best in your reportage. And I hope to see you again when you come back to India, and I hope you will keep coming back to India.
So do I. Thank you so much. Thank you.